Hi, Matt with Etrailer. If you have a 2022 Toyota 4Runner and you're looking for something for those more extreme situations where you have to drive through a lot of deep snow and ice, then the Titan chain tire chains with the cams and B-bars are going to be a great option for you. So let's check them out. Now we are going to have this on tire size 265/70R17. Now that's just the size we have today. This will fit a variety of other sizes. And we're going to have this on the rear axle is what the manual recommends. Now, if you're worried this won't fit your vehicle, you can actually plug in your vehicle's information into our fit guide to find the correct one for you. Now, we can take a closer look at these chains. So let's focus on what the links are going to be made out of. And these are going to be constructed from a nickel manganese alloy. So what that means is these are going to be some chains that are going to last you a long time since they're going to be less likely rusting over time. We're also going to have this twist link design to them with these V-bars on top. That's perfect for driving through any areas that have a lot of ice and snow. Now, something to think about with those V-bars, if you're driving through any areas that's a little bit patchy, maybe there's some pavement showing through and the air is just not that deep, I wouldn't recommend using these in those areas just because this could tear up some pavement if you're using them a lot. So definitely keep that in mind. And these are going to be a little bit larger, but we have plenty of clearance behind our tire, so you shouldn't make any contact with your suspension. Just make sure you properly tighten these down. And if we take a closer look at the center, you'll notice we're going to have some cams. I'm a big fan of them. They're just going to make the process of tightening your chains much more doable. And the reason is, if we look at the bottom, you notice we're going to have this lever right here. That lever is designed to take out a lot of slack from your chains, but with this style, it's still pretty hard to do. And having these extra cams is just going to make this process a lot more simpler. Now, I still advise using a rubber tensioner when you have any type of chains like this, and mainly because when you're driving down the road, what can happen is your chains can shift, and usually once they shift, they're going to loosen up. This rubber tensioner is just going to continually apply tension to them while you drive. If you don't have one, you can find one on our site, because this isn't going to come with this kit. But what will come with this kit is going to be this little light duty bag. And as you can see, this already kind of has a tear in it. We haven't had this for very long. And so you can kind of gather that it's not going to be very durable since we do have such an aggressive chain. So what I'd recommend doing is just investing in a small tote that keep your chains in so they just last longer. In my opinion, I think this is a great option, especially if you do find yourself in those extreme situations. Now, if you find yourself in those extreme situations, but maybe every now and then you'll get through some patchy areas that have that pavement showing through, then I'd recommend the P-Wag tire chains because they're going to have all the same features as these, only they're going to not have these V-bars built into them. So they're going to have these more larger square links, which I think is great for most situations. But those are going to be at a more premium price point, and these are going to be really aggressive, especially if you are driving through deep ice. Now, if you are curious to see what this installation process looks like, just stay tuned and we'll walk you through the process. To start off the installation, I recommend grabbing some gloves. It's just going to make this process easier. And when we are getting ready to put this on, there's a few things we want to do. We want to check to make sure we don't have any damages to our link, and we also want to make sure it's in the right orientation. So what I really mean by that is we want to make sure these welds look good, there's no scratching or major dents in here. And we also want to make sure that this hook is facing up, so it's away from your tire. And then we're going to have this cam right next to it. We want to make sure that's closest to us and furthest away from our tire. Then we can actually start putting it on. I like to grab it from the center. And if you haven't done this before, I'd recommend trying this out at home because you don't want to try to figure this out on the side of the road when it's in the middle of a blizzard. But what we're doing here is making sure it's even on both ends. So we want to make sure we're not going to be making contact with that rim right here. Instead, where it's the same distance on either side. You're just going to go do that all the way around until you get to the bottom on either end. From here, I just like to push these around. So it's going to be a little bit easier when we make our connections on the front and back side. And speaking of making those connections, the first one we're going to make is on the back side. Since this is a little bit trickier to do, you're going to have this hook. That's going to grab into some of these links. You want to make sure you don't put this on a spot that's too tight, because that will give you an uneven fit. So this might take you a few attempts, just going back to front. Just make sure everything's evenly distributed. And the front side is going to be very similar. The only difference though is instead of just having a hook, we're going to have this lever. And that's actually just going to go right through that link, just like so. And you're just going to apply some tension to it until this feels tight. Then you're going to have this little C cut out here. I'll try not to lose control of this. And what you're going to do is just connect this with this extra link that hangs out on the side. And with that secured down, I just recommend afterwards coming back through, pulling on your link chains, making sure everything feels evenly distributed. And if you look here, we're kind of loose right here. So I'm just going to adjust this and then go back down there and try to tighten up those links. This feels a lot better now, but of course this still is a little bit loose. You can especially see it on this side. We can actually take out a lot of that slack, and we're going to do so by grabbing this key. The way you're going to use it is you're going to have this flat side to it, and that flat side is just going to go into our cams where you have this center hole, and you're just going to twist it over. And that's going to tighten everything up. You're going to have 4 of these cams, so this is going to help it a little bit more evenly. Make sure everything's tight. Once this last one is tightened at the bottom, we can recheck everything. Sometimes it might get a little bit wiggly. Keep working with it. I'm feeling pretty tight here, so I might not be able to get this last one. Right now, this is a good fit. I'll try it real quick, but if it doesn't tighten down, that's fine. We still have a really good fit right now. There we go. And I'm really liking what we have at the moment. Now, I'm still going to put a rubber tensioner on here for the reasons what I said earlier. Just going to give us more security and peace of mind. And the way I like to do this is to space them out properly so you don't have any spot that's getting more attention than other ones. And when you place these hooks into place, you want to make sure that this metal hook is facing away from your tire, just so it doesn't puncture anything. Once you've completed this, then just kind of give it another good pull test, make sure it feels good, and this feels really solid. Once you've completed this, you can do the same process on the other side, after which I recommend pulling forward or backing up some, just to make sure you still have a good fit. And that was just a look at the installation and some of the features of the Titan Chain tire chains with cams and V-bars on our 2022 Toyota 4Runner. I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.